Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today we're going to be doing a fun video. The past week, I've been asking questions to the community regarding the USFL and XFL merger. What team, how many teams, what rules, that kind of stuff regarding the merger. Essentially, I'm asking the fans what they want the merger to be, or what you guys want. So if you weren't able to actually involve yourself in this, make sure you subscribe to the channel so the next time I do this, there's a better shot that these come up in your suggestions to actually vote in the community polls. So without further ado, let's just get right into what the fans want the merged league to be. Now, the first question that was asked was which team should stay in the merged league. This is the biggest point of contention for some people is which team should stay between the Gamblers and Roughnecks. Now, while there is a small chance that neither survives, it's most likely one of them is going to survive, and the rumors have pretty much shifted one way to the other across this entire series of, rumors. And, the votes were tallied, and the winner is the Roughnecks. Roughnecks won. Now, for a while, it looked like the Gamblers would end up having more votes, but the Roughnecks ended up winning by a small or just a decent margin. So, for this merged league, the fans want to have the Roughnecks. I personally do agree with this one. I do understand the idea of history, but as I've said before, or I don't know if I've said this on record, but if this was the Stars or Generals in this situation where it's a team that's already in their market and which should stay, then yeah, I'd say that the USFL team should. The fact is, the Roughnecks have played in Houston 2 of the last 5 years, and even though, yeah, you could have a lot of Roughnecks players go to the Gamblers, I think that, in my personal opinion, the Roughnecks should stay. Though I do understand why a lot of you do want the Gamblers to stay. Now, the next question was, what should the name of the merged league be? This is, this is arguably the most important thing, is what the name should be. USFL, XFL, USL, or UFL, or NSFL. Now, while yes, there were the joking ones, the UXFL or the USXFL, these four are pretty much the final four in terms of what the league name is going to be, and the votes didn't really shock me. The winner was the UFL at 49%, then the USFL at 28%, the XFL at third at 13%, and the NSFL at 11%. The NSFL pretty much just, it's not a good name. It's not just the fact that it's a four syllable, because unlike the USFL, the NSFL it just doesn't sound right, and there's a lot of just, let's just say, not good jokes you can make with NSFL being the acronym. But the UFL makes the most sense. The United Football League, it makes sense for it being a USFL and XFL merger. It allows you to keep a USFL and XFL division if that is what they so choose. So I do agree with the fans in this one. I do like the idea of the name being the UFL, the United Football League. Now, the next one is which rules should the merged league have? Now, yes, there are a few other differences, but let's just cut to the chase. The one people care about is the kickoff and the extra point. That's what people care about. Now, minus a typo on kickoff for the second option, but for this one, I personally was very shocked with how the voting went from both the early onset to what it finished. What it finished is that the USL kickoff and USL extra point should both stay, with the USFL kickoff and XFL extra point rule being the least voted. I'm honestly quite shocked at that. I thought that the least voted one was going to be the XFL kickoff and USFL extra point rule. But in my opinion, I think it's a lot to do with Brandon Aubrey and his success in the NFL. Now, and I'm knocking on wood and all that, but at the moment, Brandon Aubrey is the best kicker in the NFL. And I feel like a lot of people's opinions of the extra point rule have changed due to seeing how much success he's had, as people realize that if it wasn't for the USFL having traditional extra points, these kickers would have a less and less chance of actually getting noticed in the NFL. Because for a while, it looked like the consensus was the USFL kickoff and the XFL extra point rule, because the XFL kickoff is just an ugly looking play, and both of them protect players, so there's not a protection rule. I am shocked the USFL kickoff and extra point rule won. Well, I'm not against it. I just was expecting the USFL kickoff and XFL extra point rule to win, not get last place. That's the biggest shocker for me. Now, in terms of how many teams should be in the merged league, I purposely did these three because I knew that the most amount of teams was probably going to win. And yeah, 12 easily won it. Now, I think that 10, this is saying that if the report of two teams coming back in 2025 is true, I would say that 10 is the best, 10 teams for this first season, and you bring back two teams to have 12 next year. But, I mean, let's be honest, I think everyone wants the most amount of teams possible, and 12 seems like the most that we could reasonably have. So, that would be really cool to see. The fans have spoken, they want 12 teams to be in this merged league. Now, Getting into one of the last two questions, we have how should players from shelved teams be dispersed? Now, shelved, hiatus. Now, I put supplemental draft. I think everyone knew that I meant this dispersal draft. They're both pretty similar in the sense that they're not yearly drafts, even though the dispersal is exclusive to what happens when teams get dissolved and all that. And then make all players UFAs, and then other got 0 votes. The winner was a supplemental draft or dispersal draft. Not really a shock. The dispersal draft is overall the best way to do this in terms of players on these teams. Now, I think that the other option I would have put is if only 8 teams were to survive. And let me know down in the comments if you like this idea. If only 8 teams survive, they do it in a way where the best record team that gets cut, the worst record team that survives gets to pick from their players. Essentially, each team gets a feeder team to choose players from, judging based on their overall records. I think that'd be a fun way to possibly do it. It might be a little bit insane, but I think it'd be pretty cool. But dispersal draft ended up winning in the votes. I'm not too shocked. Then the last question was, where should the championship game be? Now, there might be some other questions you guys might have wanted to see answered, but these are the base ones. And the last one is where the title game should be. Both leagues are very different. The USFL had the same exact place for the title game both years. The XFL picked a random city just randomly during the season to have as the host city for the title game. And so the options I gave were Tom Benson's Hall of Fame Stadium. Apologies for the typo. I was pretty tired when I wrote that. Then, of course, we had the random stadium/city, which would be announced before or during the season, which is the XFL method. And then the team with the best record in the regular season, their stadium. You can't really do the best team that makes it through the playoffs because it's just, you're not going to have time to do it. And I wasn't shocked at the votes. The Tom Benson's Hall of Fame Stadium won easily. It won by a pretty wide margin. I mean, 55%. It wasn't even close. And I'm not shocked. I think that people realize that if there's no team permanently in Canton, what you can do is you can have this game consistently be there. And as long as the league continues to thrive and survive, you could potentially help upgrade or just straight up upgrade the stadium for the Hall of Fame and all that, and continue your already great relationship with them while making the championship game stadium better and better every year. It's at a really great location, and I personally love it. And so that's what you guys want. Fans have spoken, and the fans, what they want to see is they want to see the Houston Roughnecks survive out of Houston in a 12-team league called the UFL. They pretty much just want to see the USFL rulebook with a dispersal draft to allow for the players to go from the shelved teams to the teams that survive, and the championship game to be at Tom Benson's Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio. Let me know down below what you personally want the merge league to be based on these 6 questions I asked, and let me know if you agree with what the fans say or not. As always, this has been ZomFox. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified as soon as I upload any videos. Make sure to like the video, and as always, have a great night.